Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Despite yet another top 3 Championship Sunday appearance from FaZe at Major 3, they haven't got the results that they would like to see, certainly in the respawn modes. Their Search and Destroy has been incredible, but their hardpoint record since Stage 2 is a 40%, one of the worst in the entire league. Despite Cellium having a 1.2 KD, many players have mentioned over the last few days that they don't believe that Cellium is playing as impactful as it could be, and he's in fact sometimes costing the team. What do you guys think about this? What needs to change for FaZe? Very much enjoy to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you guys are new. I would greatly appreciate it. Let's dive straight into things. Firstly, with a bit of drama in the Challengers Tier 2 scene, as is always, to be honest. Now, so this player Tactic, right? There's been effectively aLLeY was on stream playing with Nameless in some ranked play and came across certain guys that are playing in the COD college leagues and was accusing certain individuals of cheating. And then Tactic says, you know, basically thanks for the gas because she was kind of accusing him of cheating and all this. And Nameless was like, oh, you know, he was just pretty good. I don't know if he was actually dodgy or anything, but aLLeY was like, no, there was a couple of dodgy kill cams, and then aLLeY replies, fan behavior, and Tactic's like, look, I'm actually a big fan of you guys, but, you know, like, when there's accusations going on, it's not ideal, and I, like, generally I agree with this stuff, right? I think it's pretty, like, accusations in general go around everywhere nowadays, because it's just so easy to lose to someone and say, oh, they must be cheating type thing, and, like, it's probably not a problem to do that if you're just a random person playing ranked play, but if you've got some, you know, if you're a CDL analyst, if you're a person for broadcast, or even if you're like a relatively notable professional player, kind of accusations definitely carry weight. And we've seen it for years in various esports that even established pros will accuse certain up-and-comers of being a bit dodgy, potentially cheating, especially when it is so easy, unfortunately, as it is in the current state of the game. And that affects those players' reputations, their careers, their ability to get picked up if it becomes like a regular, you know, if it becomes a belief within the pro scene that a certain player is doing something dodgy, then it becomes very challenging for that player to actually get signed. So, you know, I think there's an element here where people might have to be more careful. I know that aLLeY was, you know, like she blocked this guy here after, I don't know what he said to her, right? But I think there's an argument to say as a scene, we just got to be a bit more careful about this type of stuff. So I wanted to mention it at the very least. Also an update on the FaZe Toronto sound EQ drama. So we saw yesterday this clip from Hicksy where he said, word for word, bar for bar, the rest of the Toronto boys when he joined told him that they were using it and that they got it from FaZe in Cold War. Those were Hicksy's words. Now, whether that was truly what, you know, what actually happened, I don't know, because aBeZy replies this morning, we were not using sound EQ on Cold War or Vanguard, which obviously doesn't really align with what Hicksy said, because there's, you know, you can't really interpret the quote from Hicksy in any other way as that Toronto were using it in Vanguard. aBeZy, who was of course the coach for Toronto in those seasons before he went to Los Angeles Guerrillas and became a top quality player and beat Vegas in a Fortress Control at the most recent event when he subbed in Frosties. If you guys didn't see that story then, it was an absolutely wild day. But you know, in that time he was the coach for Toronto and he reckons they weren't using it then, but Hicksy seemed to believe that they were. So a bit of a weird one, and as Maven says here in the replies, maybe there was some confusion going on here, but I don't think there was any, of course, no malicious intent from Hicksy in this, but you know, it doesn't seem like what Hicksy believes aligned to what aBeZy believes, but it's difficult to say whether we're going to get a clear resolution to this one. Also from Clayster on Sound EQ, he's talking about the fact that on the Astro Command Center, you've been able to kind of do this manually for some time, just find the right frequencies to turn up and down. Whether it works quite the same way as the actual loudness equalization setting you can find in Windows, I don't know. The other interesting thing that Hicksy mentioned in that interview, in that kind of podcast, was that, well, we'll talk about what he said on Cellium here in a second, but he also said that the reason why the CDL doesn't want to disable it online is because there's nothing really to stop the players going in and turning it back on. Like, I think it's quite tricky to even get to this setting, because I'm not exactly sure how to do it, but, you know, I think what he mentioned was that the league could disable it on the league PCs that they play with at home, but they couldn't really monitor it all the time, and therefore it could be possible for someone to go back into the settings and, you know, when there's champs qualification on the line, they are kind of just more willing to say, you know what, you know, just do your thing online and just see what happens, right? And I guess everyone just use it, abuse it, and then on LAN they can confirm that it's going to be off. So bit of a messy one. I'm sure there have got to be better solutions to this, but still, that's what they're going to do for now. Let's talk FaZe then, right? So FaZe have been doing some good content, but their results, despite getting the numbers at the events, okay, they won in Major 2, they came top 3 most recently, they're always a staple for a top 3 or a championship Sunday, but their recent success really has been carried on the back of their phenomenal Search and Destroy. aBeZy has been an absolute beast in Search. We knew that when Slasher joined this roster, their Search and Destroy was going to get better, but their respawn has been straight up bad compared to the league. Now look, yes, FaZe, because they make it deep in tournaments, they play the better teams, they played the OpTics, they played the Torontos, they're going to have a harder time in respawn, but against the majority of the league lately, they are losing a lot of their respawn respawns. When they played Thieves online, they lost all 3 respawns, but they won the Search and Destroy. It's been a very similar trend for FaZe lately. Back in Cold War, they dominated the controls, and they were good enough in Hardpoint for them to win series consistently 3-0. Like, if FaZe won the Hardpoint back in Cold War, they would 3-0 like 80% of the time. It was outrageous because their Search was really good, and their control was impeccable. This game, their Search is even better, but their control isn't there, and their Hardpoint most certainly isn't there. So what's going on with their Hardpoint, right? And it's a very interesting conversation right now. We'll see the numbers here from the team and from Cellium in a second, but I wanted to share a couple of ideas from Hicksy and also from Parasite on the way that they currently play, really looking at the way Cellium plays, because Cellium is going to event after event, dropping top KD after top KD, but the results, especially in the respawns, really aren't there at the present time. Hicksy was mentioning a specific moment on the game they played on Hotel Hardpoint up against FaZe on Game 4, where they were in position to potentially lose that game and get it tied up and go all the way to a Game 5, and, you know, FaZe would have been, of course, favourites in that game if had it gone there, but Cellium made a play where he didn't push maybe as he should have done. He played his life too hard, baited his teammates, and all of a sudden, Toronto are off spawn, they're getting in position. I think it was even Standy that mentioned this a few weeks ago now, that when you play FaZe, all you've got to do is find out where Cellium is and just avoid him, because if you avoid Cellium, you're playing a 3 versus 4, and yes, he can have good numbers, fine, but the results aren't there, and Parasite believes that effectively what he does at times is straight up detrimental to the success of his team.
The one against us, the moment I can remember is the Mikado, the map 4. And it was the very last P4 hill. I don't know if you remember. Cellium got a nade kill and then went into the bottom house and shot somebody else back out. And it was just Toby alive in the hill. And the rest was spawned like deep. They got 3 dead last guy hill, and Cellium was on the house stairs. So to go towards the top house, Barber. Well, not Barber. What do you call it?
Cantina. Whatever.
Cantina,
Green,
yeah.
Whatever you want to call it.
He's on the stairs there. And in my opinion, in that situation, you should just hit the hill. He should just hit the hill. Like, his teammates coming from the other side, like, I think one of them was pinching hill. If he just guarantees that kill in hill, they need 10 seconds or something. Just guarantee the kid in hill, your teammates can fill everything else. But instead, he stays out house. The guy in hill just stays alive. Scrap gets the cut-off kills. I kill him house. Like, there's just little misplays like that where, like, no one's doubting that Cellium's a crazy player and, like, one of the most intelligent COD players. But, like, a situation like that is where you don't play COD, like, not correctly, but you know what I mean? Like, the way that you probably should normally.
Like,
yeah, they overthink it. Yeah, instead of just like
just
like
get the kid out of the hard point. Just get him out the hill. Let everyone else feel what happens afterwards. But like, yeah, just like that situation there. When I watched it back, I was thinking like that's just such a bad misplay that. And then at that point, they go Game 5, and who knows like what the chances would beat them in 2 SNDs in a series. Like
another Sunday where the respawns were not there for FaZe across the board. Like for example, they just made a lot of bonehead plays. I thought like last map. On that final P3 when MC like blocked Simp from sliding in to kill the last guy because he didn't want to move because he was lying on his stomach. Just little plays that they were making. They're just finding ways to get 2 and 3 piece on just big rotations. Just the chemistry is not there with them sometimes in respawn. In general this year,
I think
they have been a really mediocre hardpoint team to bad. They've been a mediocre control team, and what's really saving them is them growing out these series and playing searches. They got to clean up the respawn.
There are times where like you might not realize in the statistics, but like Cellium and the way he plays at times is almost like a detrimental thing. Like that laydown thing, yeah, I get it, he blocked him, but I'm telling you right now, there's times where like Cell should aggress, but because he has an AR, instead he does this like thing where he'll just like wait, try to like get the guy to peek, and if like you don't peek him, like he just bought the guy that he's like fighting for will buy so much time. You notice it, right? Like it's kind of like Brand.
Yeah.
Dashy will do it sometimes where he just kind of like spam L triggering.
Yeah.
Like
he crack games.
Yeah, but like no one's giving him anything. Cell has that issue too, and that's why like sometimes you'll just see him like positive, but it's not like he's not always impactful. Just like front baits his teammate, and then they f up a scenario or like a rotation.
So nobody's denying that Cellium's individual ability is incredible, but I think you've got to say, we talk about players like Shotzzy and players like, you know, Huke, right, making these left stick mistakes, making decision-making mistakes. Seems like Cellium's pretty similar though, right? Because, okay, he's on a different role, but let's be honest here, there's many times you watch Cellium, you think, why did he not go there? Why did he not chow? Why did he play the kill instead of going for it, right? And there's many occasions where Cellium will, instead of going for a kill, will try a wall bang, and if it doesn't work out, he'll just kind of sit there, and aBeZy, who just just died a cave off spawn, is now running back past Cellium, and you don't have the perfect pacing iteration that a good team has. So these are the numbers since the start of the season. Their search and destroy, they're 30-9. Their hardpoint, they're 22-26. Their control, they're 15-14. But if we just look at this year, so this is from stage 2 only, stage 2 and major 2, and major 3 qualifiers and major 3. So since the start of this year, 2023, excluding major 1, because I think often the first major of the season, certainly in December, can have a little bit more volatile results, let's say. So in search, they're 21-4 on that crazy 16 streak as well, but they've won 12 of their last 30 hardpoints. So that's only a 40% win rate in hardpoints. And outside of aBeZy, they're 6-2 on aBeZy. They are 6-16 on Fortress, Hotel, Hydra, and Mercado combined. Like, they're 0-4 on Fortress, they're 2-6 on the Hotel, they're negative on every map outside of aBeZy. So if you play FaZe, just ban aBeZy, and you're playing a team that's 6-16 on every other map in the rotation. Like, that is remarkably bad for a team of FaZe's caliber. When you look at the numbers that Cellium has a 1.2 in this time span, right? They're 40% win rates, Cell has a 1.2, their overall hardpoint KD is a 1.03. Like, for example, their overall KD in search is a 1.23, their overall KD in control is still a 1.1, right? Look at the control KDs. They're 10-9 in control, but Cell has a 1.2, aBeZy has a 1.2, Slasher, Simp also positive. So there's something going on there, right? This just straight up cannot be normal that the team's KD is so high relative to their actual results. And a lot of that is kind of carried up by Cellium, not always the case, but it is certainly in the hardpoint, you can say. And look, if you look at deaths per 10 minutes, like, Cellium per 10 minutes is averaging going 22-18. Pretty much that's Cellium's average KD per 10 minutes across the entirety of stage 2 and stage 3. He's getting a decent amount of hill time, but he's not soaking the hill, right? Cellium is actually Simp is getting most of the hill time here. It's not like Cellium's sitting in hill. Cellium's playing outside of the hardpoint, getting the least time on his team, and it's Simp who's sitting in the hill, soaking up a lot of the time. So, I mean, look, FaZe obviously have their reasons for playing this way. They're a smart group of guys. They've been around some time. They've got Crowder there. They've got RJ there. They've got Mack there. They've got Tupac, their S&D guy. Like, they've got a lot of big coaching staff behind the scenes. And maybe just because they're getting results and they're getting top 3s and they're getting championship Sundays, like, they feel like this isn't such a big deal. But honestly, right, I mean, you've got to look at this FaZe team and think they should be doing better in hardpoint than they are. And if their S&D wasn't unbelievably good, like, they would be getting exposed by a lot of other teams in the league. Like, they lose respawns to basically anyone in the league right now. Yes, okay, they dominated London the other day, but they can lose respawns to anyone, and they rely on their search to bail them out at times. That's not how it should be, and it feels like this tournament for FaZe, like, they easily could have got top 6 here, right? I mean, they played Surge. Like, if they'd have lost to Surge game 5, round 11, as they probably should have done if Simp doesn't get the ridiculous kill, then they would have played OpTic straight away and loses, and, OpTic would have probably beaten them then, as they did a few rounds later. So, it could have been FaZe top 6 this tournament, and if that had been the case, there'd have been probably more talks about this. Just because they got top 3, everyone says, oh, they'll bounce back, but their search isn't going to stay at this level. You can argue their hardpoint isn't going to stay this bad, but still, there's got to be something happening here. And that's the thing, right? Cellium comes to event after event, and he's getting more top KDs after more top KDs. He got another top KD at Major 3 with the highest KD at the tournament, and he is probably going to break the record for the most events all time with the highest KD. Dashy actually has 7 right now, Cellium now has 6, Formal has 8, so one of Dashy and Cellium is going to have the all-time record sooner or later, and Cellium is probably going to be on the recent trajectory, going to be that guy. But is the impact there? Is he just straight up playing too slow in certain situations? Is he baiting his teammates too hard? Like, I think they've got to reconsider how that FaZe structure works in hardpoint, because there's something like the 9th or the 10th best hardpoint team in the game right now. Like, it's only their search and destroy that's been helping them make these runs, and it's not going to be lasting at that level forever. So yeah, in tweeting your perspective in the comments below on whether you think Cellium is kind of the issue in some of their hardpoint plays, because it does seem like at times that Standy, I think it was Standy that said that, is right, that they're almost playing 3v4 at times just because of the way that Cellium is playing it. He's getting kills, but are they the most impactful kills to the outcome of the game? I think you could certainly argue not, and in crucial moments it does seem like that falls short a little bit for FaZe. Despite the incredible talent they have on their team, they just don't get the results at the moment. In the respawn modes, wanted to mention this, I thought was pretty interesting, is that, well, a duo that has placed top 4 or better at the most consecutive events, or a trio, the record is 18 from CleanX and TP. Then with a duo, the record is 17 from Crim and Clay. Simp and aBeZy got to 15, but that streak then fell short and is no longer active. So the most of the current ones is Shotzzy and Huke on 13. So they need to make another, what, 5 or 6 consecutive top 4 placing Shotzzy and Huke, if they even stay together as a duo, to make make it through, and that's going to take at least another couple of years, effectively. But still, the way it currently stands, they could break the all-time record, especially for Joe, if they make another 5 top 4s in a row. iLLeY and Huke could also do the same, but are they going to team up again? I don't really know. And I mean, look, it's going to be a challenge to achieve that, though. These records are pretty incredible. But very much enjoyed to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.